Hare Krishna. Yeah. Tamksha Prabhu will join in a few minutes.
Okay, Prabhuji, thank you so much.
Jai Shri Shri Radha are qualified to speak of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavatam, Paramahamsa Samhita, which is meant to be spoken and meant to be discussed by persons who are completely pure in heart and who are actually, Sukadeva Goswami says, one who is Rasika Bhavaka. So one who is expert at relishing the transcendental mellows of Krishna consciousness. So it's a very, very high platform, and I'm not there, but I'm begging the blessings of everyone. And today, my parents are here, and I'm very grateful to them for their upbringing and their inspiration, and it's because of them that who I am now today. And their patience and their determination is something I very much imbibed, and I beg for their blessing so that I can speak Srimad Bhagavatam. And also beg the blessings of Vishnu and all the devotees here. It's only by all of your mercy that something can come out. So it's a very, very poetic, very sweet verse. Srimad Bhagavatam, just by reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that one can attain the highest perfection of Krishna consciousness, that is Krishna Prem. The purpose of this life is actually to attain, to experience attraction towards Krishna. I also beg the blessings of His Vishal Prabhu, very exalted Prabhupada disciple. Only by permission I can speak with Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhu, I ask for your blessing. So this is very poetic and very, very sweet, Srimad Bhagavatam. And although it is explained that the different cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam represent the different limbs of the Lord, and the 10th canto is the face, the Mukharvinda of Krishna. But every part of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada says, is very, very sweet, very, very sweet. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada speaks about how we have to meditate upon form the Lord which is experienced by devotees. So we should not imagine something imaginary, like some people say that you can imagine any form that you think that is bona fide. But Krishna says, no, tasman pramanam shastram. Karya vivasita. Krishna says Bhagavad Gita that how do you know what is right and what is wrong? And so Krishna says Shastra. So whatever is expressed in Shastra, only that is bona fide, and others are not bona fide. So when we have to develop Shastriya Shraddha, that means faith in Shastra, firm faith in Shastra. And then Prabhupada says that the Lord has different eternal forms, and each devotee likes a particular form and thus engages himself in the service of the Lord by worshipping that particular form. So, of course, Srila Prabhupada speaks about different devotees of different aspects of manifestations of the Lord, but the most complete manifestation of the Supreme Lord is Krishna. Why? Because Krishna is so special, because Krishna's only business, Krishna's only duty, you can say, quote unquote, is to enjoy with his devotees. Krishna does not worry about using universal maintenance. Krishna does not worry about even establishing dharma. The dharma which was established when Krishna came into this world, although Krishna came, but it's actually an aspect of Krishna engaged in this establishing of dharma. But Krishna's only business, Krishna's only activity is to have loving pastime with his devotees. Like Srila Prabhupada says, even when Krishna kills the demons, looks like Krishna is killing the demons, like Krishna is dancing on the head of Kaliya. So at that time, it looks like Krishna is killing Kali, or Krishna is killing the demon. Of course, Krishna never killed Kali, I'm sorry, take it back. But it looks like Krishna is killing the demons, but Srila Prabhupada says it's actually the Vishnu within Krishna which is doing this duty of destroying the demons. But Krishna's only activity is to have a loving reciprocation with his devotees. So according to the form that we worship, according to the form that we have attachment to, accordingly we will attain our perfection. And then in the next paragraph, Prabhupada is speaking about how Srimad Bhagavatam helps us to meditate on the form of the Lord. And in the last week Sunday feast, I was speaking, 2 weeks or last week Sunday feast, I was speaking about the special qualification, special aspect of Krishna, that Krishna has, four very special characteristics that no other incarnation has, and that is Venu Madhuri. Venu Madhuri means the sweetness of the flute, um, Leela Madhuri, the sweetness of his pastimes, and Prema Madhuri, which is the sweetness of Krishna's love for his devotees, and then his associates. And you can also say Rupa Madhuri, the sweetness of his form. So we are very fortunate that by Srila Prabhupada's mercy, we have the opportunity to see the form of the Lord. And this is only Prabhupada's mercy that Krishna is here, is personally here with all his opulences, with all his antaranga shaktis, and Srimati Radharani is here with all her associates. So we're very fortunate that we have these forms of Radha and Krishna here today. And since today's color festival, I just thought to touch on a very important point that in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, all our previous acharyas, they exemplify spontaneous devotion. Whether you speak about Srila Prabhupada or Bhaksan Satri Thakur or Gauri Gauri Maharaj, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Vrindavan Das Thakur, they exemplify spontaneous devotion to the Lord. And what is spontaneous devotion? Spontaneous devotion means that the heart becomes one with the object of the will, with the object of one's love, or with the beloved. So Rag is actually compared to color. So when one's heart is colored with the sentiments of the pure devotees or of the Lord, then that is the real meaning of devotion. So this is very powerful. Our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya is very powerful. That by taking the dust to the lotus feet of the pure devotees, we can develop their mood. And bhakti is all about mood. So here Srila Prabhupada is speaking about meditation, and meditation is very important. Like, how many times have you heard Srila Prabhupada quoting that remembering Krishna always and never forgetting Krishna is the ultimate goal of all our practices. The goal of all our practices is to always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. So this is about Smaran. And in Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instruction, Mahaprabhu's associate's instruction, Shravanam and Kirtanam is necessary to give rise to Smaranam. Like Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Kirtanam Prabhavi Smarana Swabhavi. So by the influence of Kirtan, Smaran manifests automatically. So Shravanam or hearing is the most important thing. And Shravan, what is the real meaning of Shravanam? Tadviti Pranipadena Pariprashnena Sevaya. So these things should be there for proper Shravan. So there are three types of Shravan. One type of Shravan is you just, like most of the things we do, we let it in one ear and throw it out the other ear. We don't even remember that we heard it. Second kind of Shravanam is on the intellectual platform. It's what is it? It's taxing to the mind, or it's interesting to the mind, etc., etc. And the third type of Shravan is when it goes directly to the heart. So that is the type of Shravan that we need to do. And that Shravan should result in what is called Manana. Manana means meditation, and then something called Nidhyasa. Nidhyasa means how to apply in one's own life. And then only will that Shravanam actually have the desired effect. And that is active Shravanam, not passive Shravanam, but active. So, Tadviti Pranipadena Pariprashna. So, Pranipad, Pariprashna, and Seva. This is very important. So, Pranipad means to surrender, to humble oneself, to pay obeisances. And actually, this is very powerful. The word namaha, like when we pay obeisances, that's the meaning. So namaha, Paditana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So namaha means that we are actually surrendering our ego, which is the most difficult thing to surrender, but we're surrendering that to the Lord's feet of spiritual master. So pranipad, pariprashna and seva. So seva means to serve the thousand, the saintly person, or in our movement, to serve the mission of Srila Prabhupada. So only by first bowing down, trying to surrender one's ego, false ego, and then rendering service, humble service, can one ask questions, pariprashna. And that pariprashna, that questions will really help one to understand the science of Krishna. So that is about Shravanam, and then Kirtanam. Kirtanam in our Sampradaya means striving to chant the pure name of the Lord. So by very seriously trying to engage in avoiding the offenses, in chanting the holy name of the Lord, that is Namavas, then by the mercy of God Nityananda Prabhu, one day one can taste something of the pure name of the Lord. And in this regard, it's very important to note that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in order to propagate the holy name, in order to propagate Krishna consciousness, the most important weapon he actually used was Hari Sankirtan. So Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Taramadhya Sarvasreshta Nama Sankirtan. Sarvasreshta, of all angas, of all practices, the most powerful is Nam Sankirtan. Why? Niraparade Nam Loile Pai Prematran. So, by the mercy of Nam Sankirtan, by the mercy of devotees, one can chant purely. Otherwise, alone, it's very difficult to chant purely. So, by performing Shravan and Kirtan very seriously and regularly, one can engage, or one can start meditating on Krishna more and more and more. So this is Prabhupada's words are like golden words, and every word of Srila Prabhupada is very, very meaningful. So in the first paragraph, Prabhupada speaks that one should meditate upon the form of the Lord, which is experienced by devotees. So this is very, very amazing experience. Prabhupada does not say which is spoken, which is written in the Shastra, but although it is true that the form of the Lord that we are worshipping and meditating is clearly described in the Shastra, but experienced by devotees. So the real aspect of Krishna consciousness, or meditating on remembering Krishna in Krishna consciousness, depends on consciousness. And that consciousness means essentially this, that when we engage in any activity, even karmis or even non-devotees, when they engage in any activity, a particular feeling becomes impressed in the mind. It may be a good feeling, a bad feeling, sad feeling, happy feeling, so many feelings, angry feeling. So that feeling becomes impressed in the mind, and later that feeling comes out. And that feeling actually helps to remember that incident. So, in the same way, when exalted devotees experience something, and then later that experience comes again, then it becomes very natural to merit to remember Krishna. So in the same way, in order to remember Krishna, the most important thing is to experience the experience of great soul. So when you experience the experience of great souls, that helps one to remember the power of the Lord. It's like you experience, you feel the ecstasy of Srila Prabhupada or of the devotions of the Lord. That experience, the impression of that experience results in remembering the form of the Lord. So Krishna consciousness, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Rajavidyam Rajabhusham, Pavitram Idam Uttamam, Pratyakshavagamam Dharmyam Susukam Kartumavim. So Krishna consciousness is the highest knowledge, is the most confidential secret, and it's the purest, and it is experience, it is personally experienced. Just like some persons, they come to the spiritual path and you ask them that why you came to the spiritual path, and they say they had an experience. They had an experience. And here again, it's very wonderful. Prabhupada is speaking about clearly describing the face of Krishna. So the face of Krishna means essentially means the qualities of Krishna. So when we see Krishna and we meditate on his qualities, that does something to our heart. So Krishna's most wonderful quality among all his qualities is actually his compassion, is his love for the living entities, and ideally we can say Aug26, that Krishna never finds any fault in the living entities. That is Krishna's most precious quality, and that's why in order to exemplify that quality, Krishna manifested himself, or Radharani's heart manifested herself as God Leela. God Leela is all about compassion, is all about reaching out to the fallen conditioned souls like myself, to bring them to the service of Krishna, bring them in the service of Krishna. So this is a very wonderful verse. We all know this verse, Bhaktyamam Abhijanati. And in the purport to that verse, it's very wonderful. Prabhupada writes, we find so many living entities within the ocean. If we go deep, surface acquaintance with the ocean is not sufficient. One must have complete knowledge of the aquatics living in the ocean depths. So Prabhupada is giving an example of how one must go very deep in Krishna consciousness. And what does it mean to go deep in Krishna consciousness? The best example of going deep is the Brahmana in South India. There in South India, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was in the area of Srirangam or in the area of South India, he actually saw one Brahmana. That Brahmana was reading Bhagavad Gita, and he was an illiterate person. He was trying to read, but he was an illiterate person. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked that, because Mahaprabhu saw that he had tears in his eyes, his hair was standing on end. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, being the Supreme Lord himself, could understand that he is a very exalted person. So he asked him that if you are illiterate, you can't understand how you're having such ecstatic symptoms. And that Brahmana said that my spiritual master ordered me to read Bhagavad Gita daily. Although I cannot read, but I'm trying. But in the course of reading Bhagavad Gita, when I'm seeing the face of the lotus face of Krishna and the face of Arjuna, and how the Lord, with so much compassion, with so much love, he is pulling the chariot of his dear devotee, then spontaneously tears come to my eyes. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Supreme Lord, he said, yes, you have really understood Bhagavad Gita. So this is what it really means to go deep. By serving the order of the spiritual master, the feelings in the heart of the spiritual master, because that's what we really want. The experience in the heart of the spiritual master gets transferred to the heart of the disciple. And only when that happens can you experience something deep. Atah Shri Krishna Namadi Navave Grahya Mindre Sevamuke Jivalo Swayam Eva Spuratyata. Therefore, material senses cannot appreciate Krishna's holy being, form, qualities, and pastimes. When a conditioned soul awakened to Krishna consciousness is awakened to Krishna consciousness and service, renders service by using his tongue to chant the holy name, the Lord's holy name, and taste the remnants of the Lord's will, the tongue is purified and one gradually comes to understand who Krishna really is. So this is the process. By chanting the name and by tasting the food offered to the Lord. So we have to be very, very careful for any serious spiritualist. We have to be very, very careful, and we have to always remember the first verse of Nectar of Instruction. What is that? Vacho vegam, manasa krodha vegam, jivva vegam, durapasta vegam, etan vegan yo vishaheta tira, sarvam abhivam pratyutasishya. Rupa Goswami is saying Vacho vegam, which means controlling the tongue. And then manasa krodha vegam, controlling the mind, controlling anger. And then jihva vegam. Jihva vegam is speaking about controlling the tongue. So the tongue has two businesses. One is to speak and one is to taste. So if one is very careful to only speak about Krishna or topics related to Krishna, then as a result of that, the mind will be satisfied and the anger will be under control, or one will not have anger. Because anger is a result of unfulfilled material desires. Because spiritual desires will always be fulfilled, genuine spiritual desires. And then the second jihva is referring to the tongue's urge to eat so many things. So if one is very careful to only eat food offered to the Supreme Lord and nothing else, then that will actually spiritualize the mind. It's very powerful. It's very, very powerful. And on the other hand, if we eat in so many different places, restaurants here, there, if we eat food, then naturally the mind will be disturbed because the consciousness with which that person made that food is going to come into our mind. It's natural. So as long as we're very careful with these two things and we are in the association of devotees, we practice Krishna consciousness, it is guaranteed that we will get spiritual experience. It is guaranteed. Of course, Krishna doesn't want us to become proud, and that's why sometimes Krishna uh, keeps testing us and makes us wait. But when we have any kind of experience, spiritual experience, we should deeply treasure it in our heart and we should be very grateful. Ultimately, that's why we came to Krishna consciousness. We didn't come to Krishna consciousness for anything else. Is to experience, is to feel the loving dealing between Krishna and Krishna's devotees. I can see Srila Prabhupada himself, that Srila Prabhupada, when he's speaking to the masses of people, if you watch carefully, you can see that Prabhupada is actually with tears in his eyes from the pure platform. He is actually appealing to the conditioned souls to take up this process of Krishna consciousness. So this is a real preaching. This is a real sharing Krishna consciousness. Like Prabhupada says that, oh, my Krishna is so wonderful. And because he's so wonderful, I cannot help but tell about my Krishna to others. So the essential thing in Krishna consciousness is humility. And it's not a cheap quality. The real humility, when you see the Bhaktivinoda Thakur is expressing Amar Jivan Sada Bhakti, that humility is expressed by the pure devotees of the Lord is coming from the place of spontaneous greed. So it's just like this, that pure devotees of the Lord, they are constantly drinking the nectar from the lotus feet of the Lord. And although they are drinking, constantly drinking the nectar from the lotus feet of Krishna, but they are never satisfied. And therefore, because they want to taste more and more and more, they always condemn themselves and they want to attain higher and higher stages of Krishna consciousness. Just like if Raghunath Das Goswami, even though he barely eats, he barely drinks anything, but still you can see in his writings in Chaitanya Charitamrita, can see how he constantly increases his austerity, constantly increases tapasya. So this is an expression of his intense desire to develop love for the Lord and his divine consort. So this is a real humility which springs from that platform. And in that platform, a devotee feels that he's never qualified. Like the highest platform, pure devotee feels that he's not qualified. He feels that everyone else is a devotee, but he's not, and he could become a devotee. Feels like that. And as a result of that, he constantly experiences newer and newer tastes in Krishna consciousness. तदेव रम्यं रुचिरं नवं नवं तदेव षष्ठवर्णसो महोत्सवं तदेव शोकाणं शोषणप्रणाम यत् उत्तम श्लोक यशोनुदीयते. So this verse is very important because it speaks about what is the life of a devotee. What is the life of a devotee? He is Ramyam. Ramyam means he's constantly attracted to hearing Ruchiram Navam Navam, to hearing the glories of the Lord. And more he hears, the more he feels it's newer and newer and newer. And as a result of that, what happens? Manaso Mahotsam, his mind becomes a place of festival because he's always tasting the newer and newer taste of Krishna consciousness. And as a result of that, Tadeva Shokarnava Shoshnam Vrinam, that his shoka, moha, his illusion, his fear, his lamentation, it's completely destroyed as he sings the glories, Uttama Shloka, Yashodam Priyate. So this is very wonderful. This is the life of a devotee. This is a life. This is why we came to Krishna consciousness, is to experience this beauty of the Lord. Beauty of the Lord does not just mean seeing the form of the deity, but beauty of the Lord means becoming attracted to the Lord's form, to the Lord's qualities, the Lord's pastimes, to the Lord's dham. Actually, the holy places like Vrindavan, Mayapur, these places are very, very potent, extremely potent. And it's so potent that even the exalted, liberated associates, they never want to leave Raj. Like Iswara Shivaram Maharaj mentioned that why is it that although Krishna came to Kurukshetra and Kurukshetra is easily reachable from Vrindavan, they could have gone to Kurukshetra, they could have gone, forgive me, they could have gone to Mathura, so close to Braj. But the reason why the associates of Krishna, eternal associates of Krishna, Brajvasis, didn't want to go to Mathura because they were so attached to Braj. Srimati Radharani herself take a vow that I will not accept or use anything which is made outside of Vrindavan. So Vrindavan Dham is very, very powerful. The holy places are very, very powerful. And if we meditate on those holy places, our heart, our mind becomes cleansed, our heart becomes purified. And Srila Prabhupada said that this movement is a movement of Vipralamba Bhava. This is a mood of separation. So it's very good for us when we are here in Farmington and we think, I'm not qualified to go to Vrindavan, I'm not qualified to go to Mayapur. And in that mood of feeling unqualified and meditating on the holy places, one derives great spiritual benefit, great attachment. Like you see, all the previous acharyas, they are praying, when or when will that day come, will be mine, that tears will come from my eyes. When or when will that day be mine, when I will wander on the banks of the Yamuna like a madman, crying out the names of Radha and Krishna. So this mood of separation is very, very wonderful. And this mood of separation is what is going to give rise to intense devotional service. Unless we're hungry, unless we're eager, we cannot value mercy. When mercy comes in our life, mercy is coming all the time at every moment. But the reason why I speak to myself, I'm unable to relish, unable to digest and value that mercy is because of my lack of desire. The more and more we cultivate this desire by Shravanam and Kirtanam, then one can actually feel the presence of the Lord. So one last thing about the power of the association of pure devotees. Pure devotees of the Lord, by Krishna's mercy, we are so fortunate. We have so many audio devices. We have so many recordings of Srila Prabhupada and Prabhupada's pure devotees. So by hearing those vibrations, one gains great enthusiasm in Krishna consciousness, great enthusiasm. So we should be very eager to participate in the kirtan of the holy name by pure devotees of the Lord. And we should be very eager to hear the glories of the Lord from pure devotees. Like Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur said that simply lend your ear, just do this one thing. And he said, I will show you the spiritual world. So it's such a powerful process. Everywhere Prabhupada speaks about the power of hearing, and Prabhupada speaks about eradicating the modes of passion and ignorance. Again, Prabhupada speaks about hearing. Everywhere Prabhupada speaks about hearing. So when we hear with the desire to make the message our life and soul, only then can our determination to practice bhakti be solid. Otherwise, determination is very sentimental. So, unless we hear sufficiently about the devotional activities of the pure devotees, we cannot attain such a mood. So we have to hear, we have to hear. We have to hear about the determination of Dhruva Maharaj. We have to hear about the determination of Prahlad Maharaj. We have to hear about the activities of Prachetas. We have to hear about the activities of, the way Maharaj Raghugar is inquiring from Jat Bharat with such eagerness, such intensity about the goal of life. We have to hear about how Maharaj Ambarish, even though he was in such a difficult situation, how he still surrendered his everything to the Supreme Lord. We have to hear how Bali Maharaj, even though the Lord tested him in such a difficult way, still he accepted the Lord as his life and soul. So when we hear and put our heart in the shoes of such a personality, then bhakti develops. Bhakti utpadite pumsa. Utpadite means it arises spontaneously. Shoka moha bhayapa. So this is very, very important. And you see, like how bhakti is such a susukam content, such an amazing life, such a wonderful quality of life after we became devotees. Such an ecstatic life we have. See, we are seeing the form of the Lord so beautiful. Like one time His Holiness Chandramani Maharaj started laughing. And devotees said, Maharaj, why are you laughing? He said, I was just thinking that if I dressed like Krishna, how I would appear. So if anyone in this world, you put the garland, you put the necklace, put the choker, they just can't look that beautiful. But Krishna looks so beautiful. Our eyes have the greatest beauty to see and ever increasing beauty. And then the nose can smell the fragrance, like we have such wonderful oils. And then the tongue, of course, tasting remnants of the form of the Lord. Even our Charnamrit is so intoxicating. And then the ears can hear the wonderful glories of the Lord, the pastimes of the Lord. And that sense of touch, we can at least touch the body of devotees. So in that way, all our senses can be engaged in the highest form of activity. And actually our senses, whether we realize or not, they are becoming so happy. Our senses are becoming so happy, and the mind is getting purified, the heart is getting purified. We are meeting such wonderful people, devotees are such wonderful people. We see how devotees, they are so merciful, they are so forgiving, they are so accommodating. So it's such a wonderful life that we're living in Krishna consciousness, and this the beauty and the sweetness and the happiness that keeps increasing day after day. So all we have to do is we have to become more and more and more eager, and we have to become more and more sincere. What standard of sadhana, what quality of sadhana we're doing today should not be the same after 5 years, 6 years. So we have to constantly work on ourselves by hearing from great souls, by hearing from great and pure devotees. So if we think after performing bhakti, after performing any anga of bhakti, if we in the core of our heart we feel like, oh, I have not done anything, I have so much to do, that's a very good condition. It's a very good state of consciousness. But if we think, like for example, after chanting the holy name of the Lord, after chanting Japa, if we feel like I've had enough and I'm grateful that I don't have to touch the Vivek till tomorrow, that means the consciousness is not good. And so in that consciousness, what we should do, should chant more. Actually, at least chant one more round, or we have to do something to make sure that we don't become mechanical. The most uh, danger in Krishna consciousness is to become mechanical. So as soon as we see that mechanical tendency, immediately we should check it. We should do something to correct. Should consult with pure devotees, exalted devotees, and change that mechanical. And that mechanical tendency is because of our dealing with matter naturally. So the more and more we become spiritually familiar, the more and more we can come out of material familiarity. So that's all I wanted to speak today. Please forgive me for anything wrong and inappropriate. You want to add anything, please? Charlie Prabhu, you would like to say anything? Speak after the eyes see the form of the Lord, and the Lord is good in the servant. Stop with this of the devotees, rubbing all the elbows, covering body parts, the other the sacred dancing, certain Lord, and then use the time congregation and family those who do it, finally get you know again. This is a really rare how you want to go place it. Anyone has any question?
Thank you for a very nice class, Prabhuji. Very grateful.
All the devotees. Anyone online has anything? Any question or comment?
Give me an example for mechanical something like I don't understand.
Yeah, mechanical devotional service means doing it for the sake of doing it. And the result of mechanical devotional service is that basically one becomes kind of impersonal, and like it's a like Guru says Maya takes drop by drop. So you may not notice it immediately, but then you'll see that over a period of time you're becoming like careless. You're becoming into my soul. You're becoming kind of insensitive. With devotees also, like becoming insensitive and becoming careless, not caring. So yeah, example is like, for example, suppose one day, you do the offering every day, so you forget to offer one thing. Sometimes it may happen out of being careless, and then when you remember, you think, oh, it's okay, that's okay, it happens. But the correct mode is, as soon as you remember, immediately repent, pray to the Lord, and immediately make sure that thing is offered, and consider like, oh, Krishna is waiting for that. Like, this is one thing I just want to small thing I want to share, that if you do any service, you do anything, chanting, hearing, preaching, cooking, anything you do with a sincere heart to please the Lord, what will be the result? The result will be, in course of time, you will develop attachment to that activity. If you're doing sincerely, you look forward to cooking for Krishna. You look forward to performing arti to Krishna. You look forward to speaking about Krishna. You look forward to the opportunity. And also Krishna from his side will also become attached to accepting service from you. So suppose sometimes you don't do that service for 1 2 days, and then you do that, you feel that special reciprocation from Krishna. You feel so nice that wow, Krishna really wants, you really feel like Krishna really wants you. Krishna really loves you, Krishna really cares for you. So this is proper devotion, and uh, mechanical devotion is that in course of time, instead of seeing newer and newer and newer, you become like bored. No, this is deity. I have to do this arti every day. I have to cook every day. So it's not about being in the temple or being outside, not about the physical situation, but it's about the eagerness to serve. Like just for example, Prabhupada speaks about spontaneous devotion, and Prabhupada gives us very simple example. He says, suppose someone is doing Mangalarti and he thinks at night that, oh, when the time will come that I will wake up the Lord. Or this is Prabhupada, I'm just giving Prabhupada's example. So that eagerness is what is required. So when we are very eager, then it's guaranteed, when the enthusiasm before the service is there, then it is guaranteed that we're going to experience, taste, and that seva. So the eagerness is developed by Shravanam and Kirtan. By this. Okay, please forgive me if I spoke anything wrong and inappropriate. One should.
One should meditate upon the form of the Lord which he likes. There are different forms he has given, and it's more of like a different deity structure is not.
Yeah, but it's different forms of the Lord speaks about basically different expansions of the Lord. Like for example, Krishna, Krishna in Dwaraka, Krishna in Mathura, Krishna in Vrindavan, Nrsimhadev, like Vishnu, Lord Ramchandra, etc. But at the same time, Prabhupada said in one place about Gita also, very clearly Prabhupada says that one should not be distracted from the form, the two-handed form of Krishna playing flute. So yeah, Prabhupada is very clear on that. So,